Hugh, the lifeboat's back up the slip, and we're going to move on up Kerr Street a little bit. So we're walking up Kerr Street, and you get to look down this sort of slipway, another slipway, down to something, the Wee Beach. What's the Wee Beach? What significance and how important was that to the town and the people of the town?
Well, the lifeboat would originally have been launched down that slipway. The lifeboat, the first lifeboat in Portrush came in 1860, and at that time they actually constructed the slipway there. Those cobblestone that you see, those go right back to the very origins of the lifeboat. The lifeboat then would have been on wheels. It would have been on a trolley. It would have been brought down by horses, pulled down, and would have been launched from the Wee Beach. That's where the lifeboat went out.
And the original lifeboat house being for that?
The original lifeboat house would have been in the same position as where the toilets are now.
I understand. Yeah, I see.
They would have been at the almost in line with the South Pier, built in a very bad place actually. Yeah. For various reasons, it wasn't built inside the harbour boundary, and it was thus subject to the sea coming up. Not in a good place.
No. I was going to go around by the South Pier and talk about ask you to talk about bathing boxes, but I think we'll go on up the town a little bit, past the old lifeboat station, and get to this red brick building on the left-hand side up at the top of Kerr Street.
Yeah.
The town hall.
The town hall.
Now, somebody told me recently that you spend a lot of time in there, and some very interesting times. I'm intrigued. Tell me about it. What happened?
Well, if you were living in Portrush, of course, you went to the town hall a lot anyway, because everything happened in the town hall. Yeah. When they issued the new ration cards during the war, you went to the town hall to collect them, and everything happened there. The seat of local government was in the town hall. They looked after everything in Portrush, the roads, the sewers, the water, everything. And you wanted to talk to the number one man, he was in there, and you could go in and talk to him. So different from today. The town hall was originally built by a group of enterprising local men. It wasn't even known as the town hall. It was known as the assembly rooms.
Never knew that. Super.
There was a concert hall. There was even a library where you paid quite a small sum, a shilling a year or something, to use the library. Ladies could go free for some reason. I think they reckon not so many ladies could read anyway, and that was the reason. But there was even a room, I think, for the, like Masonic and things like that, or the orange that they could use. But it was first used by local government in 1892. Town commissioners were elected for Portrush. Very small electorate, only about 150 people, I think, were actually entitled to vote. And we had the makings of an urban council there, known originally as the town, as the commissioners, and they met there from 1892. Eventually, the town hall was actually bought by the local government. It remained in the hands of trustees until 1916, and then it was bought by the urban council as it was then. I spent many hours as the reporter for the Chronicle.
I'm really interested in this.
The strange thing is, I loved going to the council meetings. My wife used to hate them because it meant I left at 10 to 7 on the last Monday of the month, and I wasn't back until about 2 a.m. on the Tuesday. And the rule used to be that the press stayed until 10:30, and then they left. I discovered that all the best stuff happened after 10:30, and I stayed on, even though it meant being very sleepy the next day. And I covered the events of the council right up until 1972, and loved going to those meetings because I loved.
Were they heated exchanges?
They were a lively council.
Were they? I see.
Heated exchanges was a good expression. I don't ever remember anybody actually hitting anybody. I do remember moments when the language was never strong. I never remember obscene language being used. Voices might have been raised, but the councillors were they were good, and they were non-political. You know, you knew what a man's politics might be as a private individual, but he wasn't tied down by his party. So you could get W.R. Knox.
That was Who were these people, Hugh? Can you put names to these figures?
Yes, I remember them so
Please do.
Well, Willie Knox was he was a perennial chairman. He was chairman 32 times. Up until the 1960s, and then Jerry McCauley, who was a local chemist, and his wife had a boarding house in the town, and Jerry then started unseating WR on one or two occasions, and eventually Jerry was the chairman when the council finally closed down. WR again, I mentioned him in the lifeboat connection. But he was the towering figure in so many things in Portrush, and he was the chairman. He was a good chairman, a very good chairman, and people respected him, and he was listened to.
Apart from W.R. Knox and how many sort of councillors were there? And are there other names you can...
There were 15 councillors altogether.
Right, okay.
And in my time there was one lady, that was Mrs. Hamilton, Eric Hamilton's wife.
Is that the White House connection?
The White House. And she wasn't the first lady. I think over the years there weren't more than about 3 ladies served on the council. One of them was, in fact, the chairman for a while. They couldn't call her chairman, and she was known as the lady president rather than the chairman. And that was again, it was a Miss Hamilton, but not the White House Hamiltons. I remember Jim McNally, who had a gift shop and a paper shop in Portrush.
Whereabouts was that?
He originally was in Toners, which is beside the Methodist Church Hall, where Eddie Clements had a paper shop until recent years. And Jim worked in there, and then he had his own shop beside what was the milk bar. Again, it's long gone. Jim was a very active, very, very good councillor. I'm trying to think back.
But they were all interesting people, obviously. You found them interesting.